What would you do if one morning you woke up to find a letter on your doorstep? Not from a friend, not from family, but from Brenda, the HOA officer, demanding money you didn't even know you owed. Marcus had no idea that this simple envelope would turn his peaceful California mornings into a battlefield. This isn't just a story about tomatoes. This is a story about corruption, hidden money, and one man who decided to fight back. Smash that like button and hit subscribe, because you're about to witness the takedown of the most power-hungry HOA treasurer in Sacramento. The California sun warmed Marcus's back as he knelt in his garden, the rich scent of damp earth filling his nostrils. His tomato plants, his pride and joy, were thriving. He'd spent weekends carefully tending to them, a peaceful respite from his job as a high school history teacher. For Marcus, this small garden wasn't just about fresh produce. It was about self-sufficiency, a tiny connection to something real in his neatly manicured suburban world. His peace was shattered by the sharp crackle of paper being shoved through his mail slot. It wasn't the usual junk mail. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, and bore the ominous logo of the Sierra Vista Homeowners Association. A cold knot tightened in his stomach. He tore it open. The words, "Notice of Violation and Outstanding Fees. Account Delinquent," glared back at him. His eyes scanned the page, heart hammering against his ribs. Violation Code 12B. Unauthorized agricultural cultivation. A $500 fine. Violation Code 7D. Non-conforming aesthetic structure. Another $250 for the simple wooden trellis supporting his plants. Administrative processing fee, $100. Late payment penalty, assessed immediately, $75. Total due, $925. Payable within 10 days to avoid further penalties and potential lien proceedings. Signed, Brenda J. Thompson, HOA Treasurer. Marcus laughed, a dry, humorless sound. This has to be a joke. He'd paid his $150 monthly dues like clockwork. Unauthorized agriculture? Since when were tomato plants a threat to national security? Across the neighborhood, Brenda Thompson sat at her polished mahogany desk in the HOA management office, a room she often jokingly referred to as the Situation Room. She took a slow, deliberate sip from her custom mug that read Queen of HOA. Before her, the 5 other board members fidgeted nervously. The Brennan residence is a clear and present violation, Brenda stated, her voice clipped and efficient. She pointed a manicured finger at a blown-up photo of Marcus's garden. We have bylaws for a reason. If we allow Marcus to turn his front yard into a farmer's market, what's next? Chickens? Goats? This isn't a rural commune. It's Sierra Vista. Our property values are built on conformity, on aesthetic standards. A board member, Mr. Evans, a retired man with a kind face, cleared his throat. Brenda, they're just tomatoes. Perhaps a warning. Warnings are for minor infractions. Robert, Brenda interrupted, her smile not reaching her eyes. This is a blatant disregard for our community's covenant. Fines are not punitive. They are incentivizing. They ensure compliance. And compliance, she paused, letting the word hang in the air, is what keeps our reserve fund healthy and our property values soaring. The board fell silent, cowed by her certainty. What they didn't see was the spreadsheet open on Brenda's laptop monitor. A column labeled Violation Revenue, Q2, was looking decidedly lean. The HOA's budget, which Brenda managed with an iron fist, relied heavily on these fines. Major projects were planned, projects that required a robust and growing reserve. Marcus's tomatoes weren't just an eyesore. They were a revenue stream that had just dried up. He had to be made an example of. Marcus didn't sleep that night. The sheer arrogance of the fine burned him. The next morning, he called his best friend, Leo, a financial advisor with a sharp mind and a healthy distrust of authority. "Leo, you're not going to believe this," Marcus said, explaining the situation. Leo listened, then let out a low whistle. Classic HOA power play, man. They count on people just paying up to avoid the hassle. It's a business model. They create obscure rules, then enforce them arbitrarily to generate income. But there's always a but. But what? Marcus asked, a flicker of hope igniting. But if you can prove the fines are frivolous, or better yet, if you can find something fishy in their financials, that's their Achilles heel. HOAs are required by California law to make their budgets and financial records available to any member who requests them. Requested. All of it. A new resolve solidified within Marcus. This was no longer about $925. It was about principle. He drafted a polite but firm email to the HOA board, contesting the violation and formally requesting, under California Civil Code Section 5200, copies of the last 2 years' worth of detailed financial statements, annual budgets, and minutes from all board meetings where finances were discussed. Brenda's response was swift and icy. A reply email arrived within the hour. Mr. Brennan, your violation fines stand. The request for financial documents is noted. However, these documents contain sensitive proprietary information pertaining to the association's operations. Your request is under review by our legal counsel. You will be notified of any associated copying and administrative fees prior to release. Please allow 4 to 6 weeks for processing. Sincerely, Brenda Thompson, Treasurer. 4 to 6 weeks? The deadline for his fine would be long past. This was a stalling tactic, pure and simple. Marcus felt the walls closing in. He tried to talk to his neighbors. Some were sympathetic but afraid. Just pay it, Marcus, said one. It's not worth fighting Brenda. She always wins. Others outright avoided him, crossing the street when they saw him coming. Brenda's narrative was taking hold. Marcus was the troublesome rebel, threatening their peaceful community. Frustrated, Marcus went back to Leo. She's stonewalling me. Of course she is, Leo said. She's betting you'll give up. Don't. The law is on your side. Send a certified letter restating your request and citing the specific legal code again. CC the entire board. Make it official. If she still refuses, she's breaking the law. Marcus did exactly that. The certified letter arrived. The pressure was now on Brenda in an official capacity. Reluctantly, a week later, a thick envelope arrived from the HOA management company. The invoice for copying, $150. Brenda was making him pay for the privilege of investigating her. Marcus paid it, his anger simmering. That night, he spread the documents across his kitchen table. It was a maze of numbers, insurance premiums, landscaping contracts, reserve fund allocations. It was dry, boring, and overwhelming. He was about to give up when a line item caught his eye under miscellaneous operating expenses. Last fiscal year, $22,500. He blinked. That was a lot of miscellaneous. He dug deeper, cross-referencing the minutes. In one meeting, $5,000 from this fund was allocated for emergency tree removal after a storm. But he remembered that storm. The city's crews had handled all the fallen branches. The HOA hadn't hired anyone. Another entry, $3,200, community beautification consultant. There was no record of who this consultant was or what they did. No contract in the appendices. His heart started to pound. Leo was right. This wasn't just about control. This was about money. He whispered to the empty room. Brenda, what are you hiding? Marcus wasn't a forensic accountant, but he was a good researcher. He started taking discreet walks in the evening, striking up conversations with neighbors he knew were also frustrated with the HOA's strict rules. Old Mrs. Gable was fined for her wind chimes. The Rodriguez family had to repaint their entire house because the shade of beige was unapproved. He shared his suspicions carefully, not accusing, just asking questions. Did you ever see a beautification consultant? Remember that storm last year? Did you see any private tree companies? A pattern emerged. The miscellaneous fund was Brenda's personal slush fund. The fines she so zealously collected seemed to disappear into it, only to be paid out to vague entities or for services never rendered. The neighborhood's fear began to curdle into anger. Marcus was no longer a pariah. He was becoming a beacon. People started sharing their own stories quietly over fences, their frustration finding a focus. And notice arrived for the annual HOA meeting. It was the perfect arena. Everyone would be there. Marcus knew this was his chance. He spent the next week preparing meticulously with Leo's help. They created clear, simple charts tracing the flow of money into the miscellaneous fund and its mysterious disappearance. They gathered statements from neighbors. They were building a case. The night of the meeting, the community clubhouse was packed. The air was thick with tension and the smell of cheap coffee. Brenda sat at the head table, cool and composed, gavel in hand. She ran through the agenda with bureaucratic efficiency: roof repairs, pool hours, noise complaints. Then, she opened the floor for homeowner concerns. Her eyes scanned the room, daring anyone to speak up. Marcus took a deep breath and stood. "Brenda," Marcus began, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him, "I have a concern about the association's finances." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Brenda's smile was thin. "Mr. Brennan, financial matters are complex. Perhaps we can discuss your specific violation after the meeting." "The violation is part of the financial matter," Marcus countered, walking to the front. He plugged a thumb drive into the projector. A spreadsheet filled the screen. "My specific concern is the miscellaneous operating expenses fund. Last year, $22,500 was allocated to this fund. Can you tell us what that money was for?" Brenda's composure cracked for a microsecond. "Those are general operational costs. Petty cash. Small, unforeseen expenses. The details are in the full audit, which is available to any member." "Who was the community beautification consultant paid $3,200? Marcus interrupted, clicking to a new slide. "I can find no contract, no invoice, no record of what they did." The room was dead silent. "Which tree company did we pay $5,000 to after the storm in October?" "The city's Public Works Department has confirmed they handled all debris removal in Sierra Vista." Brenda's face was pale. "This is highly inappropriate. These are confidential vendor matters." "Are they confidential?" Marcus pressed, his voice rising. "Or do they not exist? Is this fund just a place to hide the money you collect from all of us with these arbitrary fines? Fines for tomatoes? Fines for wind chimes? Fines for the wrong color beige?" He turned to the audience, his neighbors. "How many of you have paid a fine this year?" Dozens of hands went up, tentatively at first, then with more confidence, accompanied by angry murmurs. The crowd was turning. The seed of doubt had sprouted into a forest of suspicion. "You have no proof," Brenda snapped, standing up, her voice shrill. "This is slander. I will have you sued for defamation." "I have the financial records you were forced to provide," Marcus said calmly. "I have statements from neighbors. And I have a formal complaint ready to file with the California Bureau of Real Estate, which oversees HOAs, requesting a full forensic audit of all Sierra Vista accounts for the past 5 years." The word audit hung in the air like a guillotine. Brenda's defiance crumpled. She looked at the faces of her neighbors, not just compliance subjects now, but an angry mob of taxpayers who wanted to know where their money went. She saw the shock on the faces of the other board members, who realized they might be legally liable for Brenda's actions they had blindly rubber-stamped. She had no comeback. No legal threat could stop the avalanche she now faced. Without another word, she gathered her papers, pushed past her chair, and fled the meeting room, her heels clicking a frantic, retreating rhythm on the tile floor. The room erupted. Some people were angry, some were cheering, others looked stunned. The HOA president, flustered, called for order. This is a serious matter. Clearly, we need to form an independent committee to review the finances immediately." In the weeks that followed, Brenda was forced to resign in disgrace. The forensic audit, paid for by the HOA's insurance, revealed the full extent of her embezzlement. The miscellaneous fund had been her personal piggy bank, used for luxury vacations, expensive dinners, and even payments on her BMW. She faced criminal charges and was ordered to pay restitution. The board was overhauled. Marcus, reluctantly but proudly, was elected the new HOA treasurer. His first act was to abolish the ridiculous fines for home gardens and wind chimes. His second was to implement a new era of radical financial transparency, with all budgets and expenses posted online in real time for every homeowner to see. The story made the local news. Marcus became a minor celebrity in his town, not as a troublemaker, but as a crusader for fairness. The video ends with Marcus back in his garden, picking a ripe, sun-warmed tomato. He smiles at the camera. It was never about the tomatoes. It was about accountability. It was about reminding people that power, especially the kind that hides behind clipboards and bylaws, belongs to the people. If you're fighting a similar battle, don't give up. Do your research. Find your allies. The truth is a powerful tool. And sometimes, he says, taking a bite of the tomato, it tastes even sweeter than this. If this story inspired you, or if you've ever faced an unfair HOA, share your experience in the comments below. Let me know where you're watching from. And subscribe for more stories of ordinary people standing up for what's right. Until next time.